Hello, my name is Dr. Bryce Newcomer, and I teach clarinet at Virginia Tech, and today I'm going to be going through the second rotation excerpt for VBODA Region 6 for the E-flat clarinet. This excerpt is in an ABA form, meaning we have an A section in one style that comes back at the end, and we have a contrasting middle section. In this excerpt, the two sections could not be any more different stylistically. The first section is very legato and lyrical with lots of crescendos and decrescendos. The second section is march-like with lots of staccati and accents. I recommend really bringing out the stylistic difference in these two sections along with the tempo changes. Let's start with the first section that lasts from the beginning through bar 8. In this section, really bring out the legato articulation along with the crescendos up to forte and decrescendos. Going into bar 5, I recommend taking a breath before these three pickup eighth notes at the end of bar 4, and then be sure you're playing the B on the right, C sharp on the left, and D sharp on the right. As you crescendo into bar 5, you have a fortissimo dynamic with an accent. Really lead into the beginning of bar 5, back off a little bit, but hold this fortissimo dynamic all the way through the B at the end of the measure. That way you can bring out the subito piano in bar 6 that needs to be extremely different in dynamic than the previous measure. Once you reach the end of bar 8, hold this note through a decrescendo as long as you have a good sound. The clarinet has the unique ability to decrescendo into almost nothing, and we want to show that off in this excerpt. After this, you have railroad tracks with a double bar line. So let out the bad air, take a moment, take in a nice good breath, think about your tempo before you begin, and go into the march. In this section, I recommend keeping your embouchure and oral cavity open so that you're not biting for these higher notes. The E-flat clarinet has a tendency to bite, so we want to avoid that tendency so that the notes do not go sharp, particularly the B and C in this section. When you reach bar 13, I recommend playing the B sharp on the right and the C sharp on the left. That way you can keep the right hand down for the G and A leading up, and your pinky is right there ready to hit that B sharp. Once you reach the end of this section in bar 17, you have a writ leading into that last measure. I recommend using this writ on those last two 16th notes to ease into that final G. After this fermata, take a second, let the bad air out, take a nice breath, and return to the original tempo from the beginning. Here, it's very similar to the beginning, however, we are now up an octave once we reach the second half of this section. This is where the real danger of the E-flat clarinet lies, when we start to go into the altissimo. We have an altissimo E in measure 22 with the accent. This is our fortissimo section from before, now up an octave. That must be subito piano in bar 23. This is the most difficult part of this excerpt on the E-flat clarinet. I'm going to give you a trick fingering that will really help with these two measures. On the E-flat clarinet, our regular altissimo E fingering is very temperamental, and if the voicing is a little bit off, it will speak up a partial to high A. Or we can get the undertone if we're too low for that voicing, and then it won't speak at all. Longer fingerings on the altissimo and E-flat clarinet can add some assurance that the note is going to speak. For E, I recommend playing a G from the clarinet register. So this is thumb register, 1, 2, 3. And then instead of lifting up the first finger, you're going to add the G sharp key from the throat tones. So once again, it is thumb register, 1, 2, 3, plus the G sharp key. This long fingering is very secure, and you should be able to play that high E at both a fortissimo dynamic and a subito piano. After this, lead confidently into the final two measures and hold this final E with the fermata as long as you can with a good sound, with a nice even decrescendo into nothing. I hope you enjoy my performance of this etude. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, email me at any time at bnewcomer@vt.edu or visit my website, brycenewcomer.com. Happy practicing!